Welcome. I'm your host, Dustin.
I'm your co-host, Dean.
And joining us today is the Las Vegas slasher himself, Drew Marvick. He is well
Oh yeah.
known for Pool Party Massacre and making noise in the area of Las Vegas. So let's get ripped apart together and talk about his career. Drew, how are you doing?
I'm awesome.
That's
Thanks for that fantastic introduction. I think my neighbors would agree with you that I am making a noise in Las Vegas.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. The more noise, the better. So it's definitely a pleasure to have you on here. Dean has been talking so much about you after meeting you at For the Love of Horror, and obviously I've seen Pool Party Massacre, and it's great. It's fun, really wacky, and seeing you in it as well was really really cool. So being able to chat with you about where everything began and where you are today is actually an honor. It really really is.
Awesome. Well, it's an honor to be on here with you guys.
Thank you.
And it's quite funny when we was for the love of horror, because obviously I've never met you before, Drew, but I followed you online before I actually met you, and it was it was your overall look. It was the beard. I was like, "Who's this guy, man? He looks like fun." And then I started like watching your videos, and I was like, "Oh, he's a director." And then I realized you directed Pool Party Massacre. I was like, "I know," and I recognized the poster. I was like, "I know that fucking movie." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then that's when I just kind of started following everything he was doing. And then I was at For the Love of Horror setting up, and I looked up on the balcony. I just saw this big beard hanging over the edge. I was like, "That's fucking Drew Marvick, man. I'm sure it is." You weren't scheduled to be there or anything, like as
No.
one of the guests, which you should have been, man. You should have been a guest there. But yeah, and I was kind of messaged you and was like, "Hey, is that you standing next to Ari Lehman?" You're like, "No, I would never stand next to Ari Lehman." Yeah. But yes, it is me. I was like, "Wow, that's great."
Yeah, that
So
was
yeah,
funny. And because I was just like I was up there, that was during the Corey Taylor show,
yeah,
like the opening night before the convention started.
yeah.
And I was up there and I was talking to my girlfriend and about the convention, and I was like, man, I wonder if anyone like in this entire building over the weekend, if there's going to be anyone here that's seen like knows who I am or seen my stupid movie. And then like on cue, my phone vibrates and it's you sending me a message like, is that you standing on the balcony?
That's
And I
awesome.
was like, ah, look,
Well,
somebody, there's already one person that knows who I am.
That's
from a
awesome.
distance as well.
Yeah. Because I didn't know. I mean, like I've done a ton of conventions in the US and film festivals, and I've been around for a little while here, but my movie barely got a release in the UK. Like Pool Party Massacre barely got a. It technically did get a UK release. I'd had a distributor, but it didn't. Well, I mean, the story is, I guess, jump into that real quick. It got released. It got a DVD release only in the UK, no Blu-ray. And on like think day two, someone in an Asda store, which if you don't know, if you're not in the UK, Asda is like the Walmart of the UK.
That's
Um,
very, very good description. It
yeah,
is definitely
that's what my distributor told me when they called me after the movie had been out for 24 hours to say, "Hey, your movie just got banned from all of the Asda stores in the UK."
that.
And I was like, wait, what does that mean? What's an Asda? And he's like, it's the basically the Walmart of the UK, and they purchased the most copies of any movie out of any retailer in the UK.
Yep.
And your movie had been out for one whole day when a mom complained because her child was looking at the back cover and she found it offensive.
Oh
So
no.
as it just decided to pull, not like there was a ton of copies, but they pulled like all two or three copies out of every Asda store in the UK
Really?
and sent them back.
You're
Oh,
And
kidding.
so my
Do you know that's
distributor was my distributor was pissed. He's like, that's like a couple thousand copies of the movie that we now can't sell.
that's
And I
crazy, man.
and I was excited because one, with a foreign distribution deal like that, like I get paid up front, so it doesn't matter how many DVDs sell.
Yeah.
I already got my check, and two, it just sounded cool. I was
yeah,
banned,
good
like
publicity.
yeah, I was banned in the UK.
Like
Banned
hell
from
yeah,
Asda,
man.
man. That's brilliant. Yeah, that should
Yeah,
literally be your tagline on your socials. Banned from Asda. That's brilliant.
yeah. Well, I made like banners. I made banners that said banned in the UK, and so like for social media back then, because this was
Yeah.
2018, I think. But because of that, I didn't know how many people actually saw. It still technically was out. and I had technically bought, like, I wanted to know what the DVD in the UK looked like.
Yeah.
In my hand. They sent me proofs of it to approve and stuff, but I had to go to Amazon UK and buy like 5 copies of my own movie and have them shipped to me just so I could have some. So I know it did get a release, but I didn't know if anyone had seen it. But people had, because I actually had people also see me at the show on Saturday and then bring copies back on Sunday to have me sign them. Which was
that's
super
cool, man. I've got one it's in that room there somewhere. I want to go and find it.
His mess room.
There is one right behind me.
Yeah, in like the black light room.
Yeah, just in there. That's the video room,
the mess room.
Yeah,
Asda as well, because it's just really weird because like I actually get a ton of my horror movies from Asda. They've got a really good horror buyer. Like I don't know if you heard of Tesco's. You got all the different supermarkets over here, Sainsbury's. They all just do the kind of chart shit, but Asda always have like a big selection of really random horror stuff, which is great.
Yeah,
the only supermarket left doing it. So yeah, but that's funny. You got banned from Asda.
Yeah, that's really funny.
That's a great story, man.
and like to top it off, so like I said, my distributor was pissed because that was like a lot of money that they could have potentially made, and then to like take some of the burden off of him, I said, well, hey, I think it was like 1,000 copies, if I remember correctly, or just thereabout, that got sent back. And I said, well, I'll buy them. I'll buy every copy off you for whatever Asda buys them.
Oh,
like, I won't buy them for retail, but whatever you lost, whatever, $3, $4, I'll buy all 1,000 of them, because that'd be a cool thing to be able to sell here at conventions.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do it. Like they couldn't figure out, he said he couldn't figure out logistically because of customs and stuff how to do it, which I guess is fair. Yeah. But he said they were actually all going to end up in a dumpster.
Oh,
no way.
Dumpster dive.
He said they had no way, like they didn't know what else to do with them, and they didn't have storage, and the way they were set up, like the distribution company's office wasn't even in the UK, so they didn't even have a place. They didn't want to pay to ship them all the way back to Australia, and it was like I think they're just going to end up in a dumpster. So somewhere in a landfill in the UK, there's 1,000. Hopefully somebody got them out. Like hopefully whoever was in charge of putting them in the dumpster was like, oh shit, I could probably sell these on eBay. Like hopefully they exist somewhere and they're not in a landfill, but I don't know.
All because some kid fucking complain. You know what? Fuck
that kid.
Actually, no, sorry, that sounds really wrong. Sorry, that sounds so wrong.
Yeah.
Fuck that kid's mum. Even that sounds wrong. But you always get the.
I think you just got your podcast banned from Asda.
Yeah, sorry, Dustin.
God damn it, Dean. All right, I gotta get you off the podcast now. Sorry.
Edit that bit out. Yeah, no, but there's always some fucker complaining about something or other, and like there's so many music venues that get shut down because someone's like, oh my god, the fucking is too loud, and then the whole venue gets shut down, and it's just always people moaning about shit. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. The kid doesn't have to watch the bloody thing. But yeah. Oh well.
But before we jump into any more Pool Party Massacre talk, Drew, I always like to kind of bring back our guests to the beginning of where it all kind of started. So if you want to enlighten us with your love of filmmaking, acting, and anything of the like where did it all begin?
Where did it begin? This is where like it gets wavy. Well, I mean, probably like everyone that you have on here, I grew up loving movies and loving horror movies as well. But I mean, just movies in general. Like I guess I got that from my family. My parents were really big into watching movies. They didn't work in film, but they watched a ton of movies. Like every weekend, my mom would rent movies. Actually, to the point that like my mom would rent a stack of movies like every Thursday or Friday, and then she would bring them all home. And she had 2 VCR set up, and she would actually illegally record them onto blank tapes.
That's the way.
Yeah, and so like we would watch one movie like as a family, or they would pick. I didn't have a choice. They would pick what we would watch Friday night and maybe Saturday, but the other like 4 or 5 movies she would just record so that we would have them for during the week or for later. And so that was my whole childhood. There was a wall like this. Like you can't see quite how big this wall is, but It goes all the way down that way,
Oh,
and
wow.
all the way down that way. Like my childhood, there was a wall like that full of dubbed VHS tapes. Like you couldn't even buy tapes back then unless you just forgot to return them and you paid $100. But just full of tapes, and each tape had 2, 3, 4 movies depending on the runtime. And so that was in my house. Like I had access to that. So when my friends came over, that's what we would do, is watch a movie, because to them it was like having a rental store in my house, because we had hundreds and hundreds of movies. So I grew up watching movies, and fortunately, like my parents are amazing. I love them to death. They're still together. They're
awesome.
they're in their 70s. They've been married for, I don't know, since 1966. I don't know. I can't count, but that's a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then, and they were great parents, but they, fortunately for me, like didn't censor what I watched. Like that wasn't something, like they wouldn't let me watch porn, but, or I never asked, maybe they would have, but they weren't they weren't worried about me watching horror movies. Like anything that I could rent in a video store, they weren't necessarily worried about it. So on that wall were whatever current like bigger horror movies were, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, and then and also like movies like Police Academy and Porky's, and like coming of age movies that like 10-year-old boys shouldn't be watching, but also should be watching. So like all of those movies were up there. So my house became the house where people would come over to watch movies, you know? So I grew up watching movies and fascinated with how movies were made, but also never thinking that it was a job, like a job that I could have. Like it seemed like another world. Like normal people born in like suburban neighborhoods don't grow up to make movies, at least in my mind. So I never really considered it anything like that. But I made movies. My parents had a camcorder. I would make really dumb like short films and skits and things like that I'd record with the neighbor kids, and I'd blow up my GI Joe guys and things like that. And then I, even to the point where in high school I took a night school, like adult education classes on video television production. Like I would leave school and go to another school to take classes on video television production, learning how to edit and shoot and stuff. So I guess it was there. Like I still didn't think it was going to be a job, but I really wanted to know how to do it. And that was in an age of like where skate videos were really coming to their own, and like adding humor and skits and things like that. And I skated a lot, so that fascinated me. So it was always there, but I didn't really see it as a profession until later in life. Like I thought about going to film school, and my dad talked me out of it, actually. And right, smartly, like in hindsight, but at the time I thought he was a dick. But but like he's a really smart man and a successful businessman, and he said he didn't really see like the passion in, or at least a specific direction that I had. He's like, you just say you want to go to film school, but you don't even know what you want to do. Do you know how few people come out of film school and actually have a job in film?
Yeah.
Like it's really small. And I'm sure all of those people are hyper focused and know what they want to do. You have no clue. You just think film school sounds like fun. And so he was right. And he said, how about you get a business degree? Because that's a degree that you could use. Even if you're a filmmaker, you still need to know how to run a business, because selling your movie is a business, running a film set is a business.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're dumb. You don't know anything, Dad. I hate you. But but I took his advice, and now he's right. Like having a business background is, I think, more valuable. And especially because I started as a producer. It's basically you're just a manager. Anyways, but yeah, I went to college. I got a business degree. I managed nightclubs here in Las Vegas for a while. And then one of my employees was going to film school, and we would talk about it all the time. And like I would ask her to tell me stories, and I'd tell her about how that's what I wanted to do. And then one day when I left a job at a nightclub, and I told her, hey, I'm going to take a couple months off work. If you're working on anything and then you need a PA or anything, let me know. I'd love to just be on a set.
Yeah.
And she said, well, actually, I'm working on something right now and we need a PA. And I was like, cool. Yeah. I didn't expect it to happen right now, but okay, let's go. And so she put me in touch. I jumped on. I worked for 2 weeks on that commercial. And then I kept that producer kept offering me more jobs, and I kept saying, all right, I'll do it again, but I have to get a real job again later. I'll do another one, but I have to get a real job again later. I have a house, I got a mortgage.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like a year had gone by and I still kept saying, well, I'll do another one, but I got to get a real job later.
You had the bug by that point.
Yeah. Oh, and it was, yeah. And so finally that I did need to, because it didn't pay as well as managing nightclubs on the Las Vegas Strip, obviously. The point came where I needed to say, hey, I need to get a real job again. And that producer offered me a salaried producer job. Right. And so he looked at me and he said, how much money did you make managing the last nightclub? And I told him, and he said, what if I could offer you 1/2 of that? But it'll be a lot of fun. And I was like, shit. Okay. So then I've been doing it ever since. And at that time I had just gotten married, and I remember I kept telling my now ex-wife, but I'm like, I'll get a real job again someday. If money's ever tight, I'll get a real job.
50 years from now.
Oh, I guarantee it. And that's probably why she's not around anymore, probably because money was always tight, because I'm a filmmaker. But I never wanted to stop doing it because it's what I love. So
well, you had the passion for it, and you still do, and that's great. That's one thing you can never really take for granted, is having passion for something and then giving up on it. So for you to continue with that and creating something and it being huge, even like so many years later, it's people still talking about it, people still discovering it, and you going to conventions and people like recognizing you, like Dean, all the way in the UK. That's huge, dude. It's huge.
It's crazy. Like I still can't wrap my head around it. It's really strange, but it's awesome. I mean, I don't take that for granted. I don't take that for granted at all. It's amazing. So, and I'm just a fan. Like I'm a horror fan. Like I was going to conventions as a fan, and I still go as a fan. I was at For the Love of Horror in the UK as a fan. Like I wasn't.
So many people that we speak to actually say that as well. Like we were chatting with Damien. I can never get his surname right, but Damien Maffei, the guy that was in Haunt. Strangers and whatnot, and he was saying exactly the same thing, because we were talking about conventions and him going around doing conventions and stuff, and he was like, I'm just a fan just like you guys. And I was, before I started being on the other side of the fence, I was just going to conventions as a fan. And he says, I can't get my head around it. It's really weird that I'm kind of now on the other side, but I hate that kind of business side of things. I just want to be there and be a nerd, just kind of talk nerdy shit to people. And he said, that's what I love.
And I know Damien, and he's definitely a real horror fan, and he's definitely a real nerd. Like, I mean, he doesn't look it. I mean, if you look at him, he doesn't look like a horror fan. He doesn't have long hair and a beard, and he's not wearing or me. He's not wearing a denim vest with a bunch of patches on it. But I mean, he could go toe to toe with anyone about like deep cut horror trivia and stuff like that. Like he's a real fan. Yeah. So, he's a funny guy.
Oh, yeah, man.
Dean, I'll let you throw a few questions. I know you got some of it.
Yeah, man. So, like, what are some of the kind of challenges with like indie filmmaking? Obviously there's like finding the budgets for stuff. How do you get your crews together? Do you kind of rope in a bunch of friends, or when you're kind of casting? When you write stuff, do you have people in mind that you write for, or do you kind of hold sort of proper auditions? What's the kind of process there?
Well, I mean, I suppose there's different tiers. I guess it depends. Like in the beginning, for sure, when you're self-financing and you're just kind of making things, like guerrilla style, like Pool Party Massacre, for instance, was completely self-funded. It ended up costing about $6,000 total. That myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was going to mention that, but I wasn't sure. I always find that. I always kind of find it a little bit like rude to say how much did that cost. But it's at the same time, it's interesting to know what the budget is, especially if it's self-funded. Like, how much did that cost to make that?
Beautiful film.
Yeah, of course. And some people get offended by that question, and I think there's kind of I think it's dying off a little bit now, but there used to be like this feeling that you had to lie and you needed to like puff up your budget because you didn't want people to know that you made it for so little, because well, one, the logic was that if a distributor knows you made it for 10,000, then they're only going to offer you 10,000. If they think you made it for 100,000, they'll offer you, which I don't think is accurate at all. I think a distributor is just trying to figure out how to make money. I mean, maybe they calculated into it, but I've worked on movies that, like, I worked on a movie that was $200,000, and I remember the director saying, "You can't tell anyone that this costs less than $1 million."
Wow.
Oh, wow.
We're telling everyone it was $1 million. And I thought, man, I would tell everyone it was 20,000. And then they would think it was the best looking $20,000 movie in the world.
Yeah.
Like, my mind goes the other way. But
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're making a movie that's $6,000, and so, like, myself and my producing partner Brian, he shot the movie and edited it and co-produced it with me, like, we just split that and started making a movie. So when you're on that, like, that level, you start you call friends, like you just said, you call friends. And again, like, I appreciate, thank you, the compliments on the movie and how good it looks for $6,000. But you have to remember, at that point, I had already been working in production, producing commercials for 10, 15 years at that point.
Yeah, definitely shows, man.
And my whole network, like Brian, my partner who shot it, I mean, he had been shooting commercials and corporate videos for 10 or 15 years at that point, and owned his own production company. So, I mean, I had access to people, very, very talented people that I had or become friends with and had given work to over the years, that were willing to help me, as opposed to the average person that, if you work at Starbucks and you love horror and you want to make a horror movie, you probably don't happen to know 10 kick-ass cinematographers that owe you favors, and every other so I had an unfair advantage, but I certainly wasn't afraid to tap into it either. So I was able to call people like Brian and all the other, and like my friend Thanos to do sound, and my friend Katie to do some makeup, and they all were happy to help for the most part. And so I was able to make it look like it cost a lot more than $6,000. But also this movie, like Pool Party Massacre, I always wanted to make a movie, and I would joke about it on set with all these talented people that I would be on commercial sets with all the time. And we would talk about, I mean, everyone that went to film school because they want to make a movie. Like, nobody goes to film school because they want to make corporate videos. Like, everyone has the dream of making a movie. Most of them never do, but that's still why they went to film school. And so these people that I know that went to film school and are really talented, I would always ask them, why haven't you made a movie? Why haven't you made a movie?
Yeah.
And the general consensus was they were all just afraid to fail. I'm not that they would say that in those words, but that's what I got from it. Is they're afraid that they're going to make a movie and it's not going to be good. And that in their mind, that means they've wasted 4 years in college and 10 years in the business. And that's not the right way to think about art. Like, you can't go into it with that mindset. You can't be afraid to fail. And that's the biggest advantage I had, was I couldn't give a shit about failing. Like, I fail every day of my life at something, and you learn. I know that you learn from it, and you pick yourself up and you move along. And especially with art, I mean, just because someone doesn't like it, it doesn't make you a failure anyways. Like, making the movie is the success. Like, finishing the project is the success. Beyond that, that's gravy, as they say. So I work with all these talented people that all want to make movies and never did. So I started saying that I was going to. And one day, Brian, who I mentioned, who shot the film, called me and said, "Hey, man, I got a new camera package. It's amazing. For the time, it was great." And he was telling me so that I would hire him and rent, for commercial stuff. But he finished the conversation by saying, "And I'd love to shoot a feature film on it. So if you know anyone with a script, I would probably shoot a feature for free." So I could shoot a feature with this new camera package, because I'm so excited about it. So I immediately lied and said I have a script. And he's like, "You do?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I do." Yeah, it's ready to go. Like, you want to shoot a feature for free, you should shoot it for me. And he said, "Okay, well, send it over." So I said, "All right, let me polish it up a little. Let me dust it off, and I'll send it to you in a couple days." And I locked myself in my office and I wrote Pool Party Massacre in like
that's great, man.
2 or 3 days. And I sent it over to him, at least the first draft. And he sent it back and he loved it. and was like, "This is rad.
Hell
Let's make this movie. How do we do this? Like, I'll shoot it, but what do we need to do?" And so we started putting the pieces together. And on that phone call, it was funny. I had just in my old house, people would rent sometimes, or I'd let them use, or they'd rent my backyard. I had a really nice pool, and they would use it for photo shoots to shoot like sexy girls, usually like under the waterfall. And there was a photo shoot that either that day or the day before. And I remember when the photographer came and they were setting up, she asked if she needed to pay me or anything. And I said, no, you're a friend. You don't have to pay me, but when you're done, let me know. I want to jump in the last photo. Like, I want to be in a photo in the background so I could just throw it on Instagram or whatever. And so she knocked on the slider and said, hey, we're wrapping up. You want to jump in a photo? And I looked, and there was this friend of mine, this girl, this model in the pool in a bikini. And I said, yeah, give me 1 minute. And I ran to my closet, and I had a blue like mechanics jumpsuit in my closet, of course. And I put it on, and I grabbed an axe out of my garage, and I climbed into the pool, and I just stood like waist deep in the water behind this model. And she took a couple pictures, and I thought it was funny.
That's awesome.
I posted them to Instagram thinking nothing of it. And I had made a comment to her. She was like, oh my God, these pictures look like they would be an ad for a movie. And I was like, yeah, like Pool Party Massacre. And I just said it jokingly. And then fast forward like the next day, I lied to Brian that I have a script, and he said, what's it called? And I said, Pool Party Massacre. And he said, oh, I like it. It's catchy. And so then I was stuck with it, and I ran and I wrote it. But it had still evolved. I mean, obviously it changed from that very first draft, but it even evolved. Like at that point, Brian had it was like 3 weeks or a month off because he was moving. And that's when he wanted to shoot the movie. And in order for us to hurry up and make it, we couldn't have made what exists now. So I was like, well, let's just make a no budget movie. Like my first idea was to make it, I think, for $10. I'm like, we'll make a $10 movie. That'll be our sales pitch. It only costs $10. and I'll play every character. So like, what? Yeah. And so that really was my initial pitch. Like with that script was like, I'll put on a wig and I'll play every character. It'll be so stupid, but it'll be funny. It'll be this weird $10 movie where I'm every female character and every male character.
Like a being John Malkovich.
Yeah. But then as I revisited the script and polished it up more and more and more, like we started to like it more and more and realize like, wait, this actually could be we don't have to make it that stupid. Like it can still be stupid, but we can make a real movie. And so then we decided to have auditions and cast other real actors and actresses and take it a little more serious than a $10 movie. And that's how it evolved into the $6,000 movie that it is now.
Amazing.
And it's beautiful. It's funny. It's wacky, bloody. It's got a really cool ending.
I'll tell you what, as well, I think it's got one of the best front cover artwork.
It pops. That's another thing. The colors on it are great.
I love those colors, man. I love that. I just love that whole design. It's got that real 80s horror kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It would look really fucking good on a bottle of hot sauce, I think.
Yeah. It would. Can you imagine? If only I knew somebody that made hot sauce.
No, seriously, the artwork for that is, I love it, man. And I think that's one of the things, when I saw the artwork, I was like, right, what's that about? That looks great.
Yeah. Well, and that was the goal. That was with the artwork, at least. That was the point. I mean, even with the movie, I'm a huge fan of 80s horror. I grew up. I was a kid in the 80s watching those movies from that wall I described in my house, and also going to rent movies too, like just based on VHS box art. So I love 80s horror and slashers and like kind of the campy, nonsensical tone to a lot of them. And so I wanted to capture that with Pool Party Massacre, but I didn't want to make an 80s. I didn't want it to be a period piece, mostly because I'm a producer at heart, and I know that that's extra work and that costs more money. So that was the real reason. But also I just wanted to try to capture the spirit. So I wanted to make a modern slasher, but kind of in that
nod
same, in that same tone and feel, which some people seem to think that I pulled off, which is great. But to like the icing on the cake was to have the art match the tone that I was trying to create. And so that's why I really wanted it to be look like an 80s VHS cover. And I also, like, working in marketing for 15 years, like, I also understand the value of marketing and good key art. So I found Mark Schoenbach of Sadist Arts, who did the art. I saw his art. Actually, I think it's right there. Kill Granny Kill.
Nice.
See if I can reach it.
Kill Granny Kill.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah,
he
man.
did this art.
That's so
Oh,
sick.
yeah.
Yeah, this is amazing. Great movie. You should track it down.
Will do. I'll note that.
Jacob Ennis, the director. You should have him on here too, actually. He's a super talented guy. He made Kill Granny Kill, but he also just made, or is still making, The Art of Killing, which I'm in.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm definitely going to be watching that.
Yeah.
Kill Granny Kill. I'm writing that down, man. I need to see Kill Granny Kill.
But I saw that art and was like, oh my God, that's amazing. This VHS box is amazing. Yeah. When was this made? And then I learned it was a very recent indie horror film. And I tracked down the artist and I reached out to him. And that's who ended up doing Pool Party Massacre. So, and that was an important, really important piece of the puzzle to me, was to have great art.
Yeah, it helps a lot, and it definitely has, throughout the whole years, and people recognize it. I recognize it. I love the color scheme on it. It's beautiful.
It is, and he's like, we came up with kind of the concept and the idea together. I actually happen to have a copy right here. There it is. But like, we kind of came up with the concept and the idea together, but the colors and obviously the beauty of it are all Mark. Like, he's super talented, and so and it's also, I mean, it's an amazing piece of art, but also, like, there's some, like, I guess some luck in it too, that it ended up having some staying power and that people really remember it and latched onto it. And so all things the stars kind of aligned there, and I was able to use it to my advantage. He's working on the art for Pool Party Massacre 2 right now, actually.
Oh, hell yes.
There's a number 2?
Yeah, wow, it's not made yet. If there's any fans or backers listening, they've been waiting a long time. I actually was supposed to start shooting it right before everything shut down. So, like, it's been on hold for almost 3 years now, or whatever, 2.5 years.
That's amazing.
So I'm excited.
Oh, sorry, Drew. Yeah, go.
No, I'm just gonna say I'm excited to finally, like, actually make it in 2023.
I'm excited to fucking watch it when it comes out. Like, I'm so pumped for that. And oh my God, are you gonna still do the same $6,000 budget?
No, well, I did an Indiegogo right before COVID, and that was like, my goal was 12,000, because that was the whole joke, was it's part 2 is we should double. We're gonna double the budget, we're gonna double the kills, and we're gonna double how stupid it is. That was like my whole pitch. And then we actually ended up raising a little over 20,000, which is amazing.
Awesome.
So it's a little bigger of a budget and a lot more kills and a lot more blood. I think that was my pitch, was more blood and more boobs and more stupid.
Yeah. That's great.
I think that's what I said.
There's a lot of fans. There's a lot of fans of that movie over here as well. Like, I know a lot of people who love Pool Party Massacre. Jason, who does a lot of artwork for me, does a lot of my beer can artwork. He does a lot of kind of comic book artwork, because he's a really good artist. He's doing a lot of art for the podcast. He fucking loves that movie, man.
Really?
Yeah, he loves that film. When we told him, hey, you got Drew Marvick coming on the show, he's like, man, I love Drew Marvick. So he loves that. Yeah, like, he follows you online, he follows all your videos and stuff, and he loves that movie. Yeah, he'll be listening to this as well. So yeah, man, blow him a kiss.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah. And the thing is too, like, this movie is wacky, but it's also a comfort movie for me too. Over the past couple of weeks, gearing up for having you on here, I just had it on in the background, and every time I looked at it, I was like, wow, this movie is great. It's beautiful. It's wacky. Seeing you in it too is really, really funny. So I wanted to ask you, how was it having to direct it and act at the same time?
It was interesting. I mean, it was the first feature that I directed, so jumping right in. I directed some commercials before that and a couple short films, but it was the first feature that I'd ever directed. So it was really the first time I had ever done both and eat and do them simultaneously. But I wrote the script knowing that I was directing it and that I was playing that role. So I mean, it was all I catered to. I made it as easy as possible for me, I guess you could say. So I didn't have the same difficulty that someone would have if they're a lead in a movie and they're directing themselves, which I guess I'll find out in part two, because now that the killer is revealed for part two, I don't have that. I will be in it. Spoiler alert. I'll be in it for the whole movie. And so in the first one, I was able to even use body doubles. Like there's some scenes where that isn't, where you'll see the killer's body and it isn't even me. So because all you see is a shape walk by, or a hand, or the jumpsuit. Or one time, one of the kill, if you just watched it recently, you might remember the crazy like Belgian old lady neighbor that's like having a tea party with her doll. So that whole scene was added after that. It was never in the script. The movie was almost completely shot. We were pretty much done. And I was working as a producer on a Belgian TV show that came to Vegas to shoot for like a month. And it was this crazy concept of a show that I think there were a couple versions around Europe, but actually there's one in UK. It was actually from the UK. It was called 50 Ways to Kill Your Mum. It was the name of the show in the UK. And they were doing a Belgian version, but basically it's a celebrity. And this guy was a big celebrity in Belgium. He takes his adorable old mom and puts her through all these crazy adventures, basically is what it is. They're not really trying to kill her, but anyway, so each episode they make her do one or two crazy things to take her out of her comfort zone. And it's a great concept. I guess the one in the UK was a fairly popular show. But so came to Vegas to shoot, and like they made her go skydiving.
Oh wow.
They made her do like ride on a back of a Harley with like a motorcycle gang for like 3 hours across the desert, and she had to eat a scorpion and things like that. And while we were working on it, and I was helping arrange all of these things for them while they were here, one of the producers had worked with me previously when they came into town for a different show and remembered that I was going to be making a horror movie, and she brought it up, and I said, yeah, we're actually pretty much done. And they had a meeting that night and came back the next day and said, is there any way that we can have her in your movie and get killed in like an American horror movie? Like this would be the best thing that could possibly happen. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm done with the movie, but I think I could make that work. And so I went home that night and figured out how I could somehow add this lady into the movie. And I came up with that scene. That's why there's no other actors or actresses from the movie in it, because it was totally after the fact. And I just added that little thing in, and then they were filming it simultaneously for the TV show, which is even weirder because there's my little crew making this little movie, and then there's this giant crew on like three ARRI cameras and a full G&E setup and everything, filming us making this tiny little movie. So I had to have a body double for that day too, just because I needed to also be on camera as the director of the movie, directing this woman that didn't speak English, whose celebrity son was there laughing as she takes a pickaxe to the top of her head and blood's running down her face. And so
that's great.
It was hilarious.
That scene is really, really wacky and funny.
but everything in that scene is not me. Like when the killer, anytime you see the killer, it's not me. It's my friend Gus, actually.
Oh wow. Dean, go ahead. You can throw some.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I remember asking you when I was at the convention. I said, there's a scene in the film that absolutely cracked me up as well, when they pick the phone up and it comes up with this like enormous cock and it says "True." I remember asking you, I was like, you're talking about body parts that weren't yours. And I remember saying, dude, was that like actually? Yeah. And I think I remember you saying that you were kind of just scrolling to find some dick pics somewhere.
That was actually another thing that wasn't in the script. Like
that's hilarious, man.
That character whose phone and it's her phone, I think her character's name was Kelly, was played by my wife at the time. So And so I wrote it in the script that her boyfriend that you never see's name was Drew, because I thought it was funny, and they're all talking shit about Drew being a nerd who like collects toys or whatever. And so that was just like an inside joke that I thought was funny. But then on set, after we killed her and the phone was on the ground, I was just thinking of extra insert shots to have them post. And I was like, oh, we should get a shot of the phone on the floor with like in a pool of blood, because she was just on the phone. And then I was like, well, shit, there should be something on the phone. And I was like, oh, I got it. Drew will call her. Like he'll be calling her back. And then I was like, and it just snowballed. And I'm like, oh, well, it should be a picture of Drew, like when he's calling, but who would it be? It can't be me, because since I'm the killer. And then I was like, oh, wait, what if it's just his dick? So then I had to like find a dick that we could use. And so, yeah, I Googled, with all of the makeup artists, the crew, everyone just sitting on the couch. We shot it at my parents' house. So this is in my parents' living room. My mom's making sandwiches for everyone, and I'm Googling dick pics on my phone, trying to find the best dick that also wasn't recognizable, so that I wouldn't get sued someday. And I stumbled on that beauty, and
that's awesome.
And there it is. And I wish it was mine. It's mine in my heart, though.
You can tell, like, with because obviously you're really active on social media, and you're always coming up with some really funny as fuck videos, man.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you can tell that you're really good at writing comedy stuff. Skits, the murder size, with the leotard, and I was watching. I'd never seen that butter video. With the guy
butter one,
the Danzig tune, like butter. I never said. I'm guessing that was just a video that kind of went viral, and then I saw your take on it, where you was kind of looking in the fridge, and I was just like, man, that's brilliant, So yeah, I love all those little skits you do. They're great.
That was the best. That was the best thing I've ever made. Is that butter video?
Yeah, that took off, that one, man.
It did, and it was. It's just I stumbled on that guy, or actually I didn't stumble on it. A friend of mine, Chris, sent it to me. Was like, have you seen this guy singing Butter yet? Yeah. And I watched it and I thought it was hilarious. Like instantly was like, this guy is amazing. And he actually is. He has
Danzig, man.
He's got a great voice, like super talented guy. But I loved it so much that I was like, oh man, I gotta do something with this. Like everyone else on social media, on TikTok, like takes other people's videos and duets it or whatever the hell it's called. So it's like, right. I got to be, ahead of I got to catch up to the times. And I'm like, I'm going to do this.
Oh yeah.
And I was just bored, like all in like an hour.
Yeah.
My kids left for an hour and I was home alone, and I was like, oh, okay, what can I do? And next thing I know, I had a phone in the fridge and I shot that little video, and then I like didn't look at it for a couple of days, and all of a sudden it had 4 million views.
That's crazy. How did you get the? Did you carve out the butter swan at the end?
I actually had just bought that. Like it was at the grocery store, and like two days before that, I was at the grocery store with my daughter, and she showed it to me. She's like, "Can we please get this butter turkey?" And I was like, "Why for Thanksgiving?" Yeah. And this was after Thanksgiving, so it was on clearance. They had like a stack of them for like 99 cents because nobody wanted them after Thanksgiving. So my daughter really wanted it, so I bought it, and it was just happened to be in the fridge.
That was meant to be, man.
It was.
The perfect prop for that. Skit.
Yeah. And now since then, he reached out to me, who was singing it, and said he loved it. That it was his favorite take on any of his. He's on TikTok and has he's like the new Weird Al. Like he just does song parodies, shirtless in his room. But he said that was the best video that anyone's done with his. Like usually people just do reaction videos or whatever. But I just got a weird. Sorry, my computer just freaked out. There we go. It needed to update my Adobe. I thought I lost you guys because it was like, we need to update your Adobe.
Oh no, you're good. So talking about social media, you were just being Santa for an entire month. How was that?
Yeah, Jesus. I mean, I feel like it's every December now for a while. I guess because of my look, I end up playing Santa a lot. I mean, I've played Santa in a handful of commercials and short films anyways over the years. And in the movie Axmas 2, I played Santa. And so this Christmas was no different. I played Santa in a couple music videos. I did some more photo shoots, and then I got cast in the movie Xmas, which hasn't shot yet, but I get to play Santa in that. So with that being announced, I shot a bunch of promo stuff for that in the Santa suit, and I don't know, I just kind of like become Santa, and I ended up doing these, like, I called it trash bag Santa, where I was like a homeless Santa that made his little did Santa photos in his like alley behind his cardboard box. And so I did a bunch of those where I just invited friends and family to come over and take portraits with trash bag Santa. So yeah, I was Santa a lot.
Oh yeah, man, you should just be a
I love
Santa all year round.
I love the concept behind triple X Xmas.
Yeah, it's me too. I'm really excited about it. I mean,
what's happening with that? Is it like a GoFundMe campaign, or
yeah? So there's an Indiegogo going on right now.
Okay.
If anyone's interested, you can go to xxx-moss.com.
I'll also link it in the description as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so yeah, it's currently getting funded, shooting in the beginning. I mean, that's shooting fairly soon, a couple months. But the basic synopsis that you'd get from the Indiegogo video is that there is a group of adult film stars making a Christmas themed porno when the actual Santa Claus comes flying down from the North Pole and decides to punish them all for their sins against Christmas by murdering them.
Oh yeah, man.
That's
a great concept.
Yeah,
come on, man.
I mean, so it's Santa versus the porn stars. So, and it's fun. It's a funny script, and it's got a lot of cool people attached. And the director James Dean is doing, like, he did a good job with the script, but he's also doing a good job of making sure, because it's adult film, it's sex workers and adult film stars in the movie, that he's casting actual sex workers and adult film stars to play those roles, so that they can help him understand, like, you know, the intricacies of it, but also just that he doesn't say or do something incorrectly, and respects them as the people that they are. Because
we are pro sex work over here for sure.
Yeah, me too. And so, and obviously, because of what I do, I work in indie horror. I mean, a lot of my friends are sex workers and work in adult film, so it's totally normal to me. And sometimes I forget that outside of our bubble, that it's not.
Yeah.
So it was great when I first read the script. It was important to me to make sure that it was done in I was going to say tasteful way. The movie itself, I mean, it's Santa killing a bunch of porn stars, so it sounds weird to say that, but I just mean the treatment of the profession more so. And I guess we don't have to worry about offending Santa Claus.
Yeah, exactly. So that's awesome. There's a lot of cool stuff in the works.
Yeah,
and I'm excited for all. But besides those projects, is there anything else that you got cooking up there that you want to do?
I want to do everything. I just love creating. I just had a meeting right before this, actually, with a cinematographer friend of mine who wants to start directing, and that was kind of my response. He has a couple things in the works, and one of them is with Bruce Campbell, which is pretty exciting. And he just asked what I would want to do on any of the projects he mentioned, and I just told him basically anything. I just love creating. I don't care what my title is. It doesn't matter to me. Like, he asked if I needed to be the director, is basically what he was getting at, and I said no. I just want to create. I just want to make movies. I don't care what my title is or my role is. I just want to be a part of it. I mean, there's certainly things that I might be better suited at or might be able to be more helpful, but it doesn't matter to me, which I don't care. So with that being said, I just love to create. So I'll be making a ton more really stupid social media videos, I'm sure, just because those are things I can do in my house.
And they're all great. They're all funny. Just your personality on there, and just like coming through and talking to you, it's so bright and so welcoming too, and warm, and it's so funny, and I love you as a person. Like you just
thank you. Just the definitely way that one of my favorite people in the horror community, man. I love when I see
it's just how you like emote, even like without talking and just like doing silly things. It's so uplifting, and it makes me want to do more. So I thank you for that, and also
Oh
being
man.
creative and making movies and stuff. It's awesome, and being able to chat with you is definitely an honor.
Oh, thank you. I wish my girlfriend was here right now to hear all of this, because she probably disagrees with all of it. No, but I'll tell her. Don't worry. As soon as we get off here, I'll let her know how great I am. But no, thank you. I appreciate it. And you'll probably be sick of me by the end of this year, just with all the stuff I'm going to be doing.
Oh hell no,
Like,
man.
we actually, her and I just recently were talking about because I've been working on a lot lately, or over the past year or two, what I had coming up, and made a list of all the movies that I acted in that haven't been released yet. And there were 16
Oh
16 feature
wow.
films. Yeah. So that's a lot. I don't know how many of them will actually come out in 2023. Hopefully all of them. Probably not all 16, but that would be amazing.
I
And
will keep
plus,
my eye out for sure.
I see.
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I was trying to keep a tabs on all the stuff that you're doing, and is it Killer Popcorn? Is there one called?
Yeah, so Killer Popcorn, it's gone through a couple. I'm pretty sure that's the name that's going to stick. It was called Mini Mall Massacre when I first joined it 5 years ago, I think it was. But and then it was Popcorn Killer, but I think Killer Popcorn is what's going to stick. So that's my friend Trevor. That's his first movie. He produced it and wrote most of it. He co-wrote it, but it's just a huge film nerd. He actually owned the last movie rental store in Las Vegas for, I think it was like 8 years, and it finally closed right before COVID. But he just loves movies, and he's the one that introduced me to Kill Granny Kill. Like, I would go into his store and he'd have like more movies that he would find. He was obsessed with indie horror, and so he knew even more about it than I did. And he always wanted to make a movie, so finally he did, and that's what Killer Popcorn is. So, and it's a cool, like, in the vein,
for sure.
In the vein of a trauma movie. Like, he loves trauma, and so has the wackiness of a trauma movie. Definitely a lot of 80s horror and a spirit, but it's a monster movie. It's like a nerdy kid that gets bullied and picked on he works in a video store, and they shot it in his video store. But all the other people in the mini mall pick on him, and everyone in the store. And I play like a mascot for a weed dispensary that's like next door.
Oh hell yeah.
And so, like, all the other stores in the mini mall have mascots that like hold signs out in front to direct. So there's like a Thai restaurant and a foot massage place, and so anyways, all of us mascots like pick on him, and then he turns into a monster, kind of like a Toxic Avenger-esque, and murders all of us.
Yeah.
And
yeah, dude.
But goes back and forth, like, then turns back into his normal self. And so it's funny. I'm dying to see it. I've only seen footage, but it's like 99.9% done. So I'm supposed to be able to, that he's making another movie called Ruthless, and it's supposed to shoot next month, and I'm in that too. I get to play a male prostitute, and
awesome.
So I told him I need to see the movie before I'll agree to be in your next movie. I want to see the other one, which is not true. I would do it anyways, but I just want to see the movie.
And staying active, that's great, and really, pushing that passion of yours. I'm very excited to see everything you're a part of.
Dude,
really
I'm trying. So yeah, with that, and XXX is shooting soon. I just got a text today from a good friend of mine, an actress who's her and her husband are making movies. Asked if I would play some kind of a psycho clown in a movie next month. I don't know anything else about that. It was the text I literally just got, but
yeah,
I was like, I already answered. I already said yes.
Amazing. It's kind of the Killer Popcorn set. It's a bit Kansas. Sorry, it's really late here. I can't talk properly. Sounds a bit Full Moon-esque as well.
It does, and that's definitely the vein. Those are the movies that Trevor loves, and it's definitely in that. And they put together something really cool, like the monster effects for the kid Orville, who's this skinny little kid in real life. When he turns into the monster, it's this giant Hulk of a man that's the actor. But his head is like a popcorn box, and there's actually popcorn on top of it.
Oh, that's so funny.
Really cool.
Love that.
The effects artist Miranda did a really good job with that. Like she sculpted that and created that. It's really cool.
Wow.
So
I
I'm excited about that one, and I get to be a wacky. Like I'm gonna dress like the Statue of Liberty.
Oh,
And,
hell yes,
yeah.
man. I'm excited just to see that. Oh,
and
wow.
I get a good kill. So yeah, I'm
Pull
excited.
the
There's
pull.
other cool, like the Barn 2 just came out on physical media. It hasn't hit streaming yet, I don't think, but I'm in the Barn 2. That's another one I'm really excited to see kind of hit the world when it gets a wider release.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to see if I can pick up a copy of that and definitely watch that.
Yeah, that's available through Scream Team. The director Justin has his own distribution company called Scream Team Releasing, and so the Barn 2 and the Barn 1 and a bunch and other movies that I'm in. Like he actually released 13 Slaves Till Christmas. I have a short in that. 1031 Part 2. I have a short in that. So.
Awesome. Dean, do you have any last questions or anything before we
Yeah, man. So, like, we kind of talking a bit about like convention life earlier on. Have you got anything lined up? Any sort of conventions to go to as a guest, or are you going to kind of wait until Pool Party Massacre 2 comes around, or some of these movies comes out? Like, do you like being on the road? Do you like kind of getting out there and just kind of mingling?
Yeah, I live for it. I love being on the road. I love being at conventions or film festivals. And it really, I mean, if I could afford to just do that forever, I would. Because I feel like that's where I belong. I'm like a carny, I guess. In a way. And that's those are my friends and like my people. So I definitely love it. I had planned on doing very little or no conventions in 2023. It was just something that I thought would help me be more productive, because I want to make more. Like the last few years I've just been acting in other people's films, which is great and I love doing that, but I haven't made anything of my own in a few years now, other than the short for 13 Slaves Till Christmas, which is great, but that was in the height of COVID, and I made it like a 2-person crew with my kids being the only 2 actors, and we shot it in my daughter's bedroom. Like it was really small. It was great, and it means more than probably any of the other things for those reasons, but also it was that small. We shot in one night. So other than that, I haven't made anything of my own in years. So I really wanted to, like, I had set a goal for myself to direct 4 features in 2023, which is pretty lofty, but in Pool Party Massacre 2 being one of them, I think I can pull it off. So I'm still hoping that that's the case. So I have a couple things in the works other than Pool Party Massacre 2 to hopefully that I'll get done directing this year. So I thought not going to conventions would help that, but also I just felt like maybe it would help me also to take a break. Like I do so many conventions and I'm so available that I thought maybe taking a year off and then having all these movies come out and me making a couple more movies, it might help my career. Like stepping back and looking at it from a business standpoint, I thought it might help, but I also can't resist it. So then like when I had an opportunity to get a booth for the very first time at Texas Frightmare, which is something I go every year, but I've never actually had my own table. So when I got that opportunity, I couldn't say no. So now I definitely am going to be at Texas Frightmare.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well then also Cult Classic Convention in Texas. All my friends are going to be there and they want me to come. So then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll do that one. And then, so now it seems like every couple weeks there's another, like, okay, well, I guess I could do that. And so it just kind of, snowballs into it. And then my girlfriend works with or for Mad Monster Party, which is one of the biggest conventions in the country. And so they have several. They have 2 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and 1 in Arizona. And so it's like, well, I'm like, well, I guess I'll probably go to those. And then now all of a sudden I'm at a convention every month again. And I'm not. I'm not supposed to
come to Salem Horror Fest. Need to.
Oh, I would love to come to Salem Horror Fest.
Dean will be there. We are planning something with the festival director there. For
That's right.
something.
When is it? Is it in October still?
Moved it to April. So April 20th through the 30th.
But it used to be in October, right?
Yeah, Kay,
doing
she
two.
moved it to get away from the craziness.
Oh, so she's not doing the October one, just the April one.
Just the April one, yeah.
Oh, right.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I have a film festival, Sin City Horror Fest, and when we started it, whatever it was, 6 or 7 years ago, we wanted it in October because it was a horror film festival in Sin City. But now we've also realized that it doesn't need to be, and everyone's trying to do everything in October horror related, and then make it in Salem. And obviously, Salem is, I've never been there, but I've tried to go multiple Octobers and not been able to because it's so crazy. I couldn't even find a place to stay.
Yeah, I live in Massachusetts, so I'm fairly close to there. But yeah, it's a pain in the ass. But with it being in April, and it's so much easier for the people who want to attend.
Yeah,
and you can do it for longer. You can have the shops open longer. Not so many people there. So, but if you're thinking of going to a festival just to kind of hang around and maybe see some awesome vendors like Dean over there, that's definitely a place to be.
well, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I will send you the website link to after
Yeah,
this.
send it to me, and I'll see who else. Like, I wonder who else will be. Like, they have guests and everything. Is it a film festival too?
Yeah, it's a film festival. This is the first year that Kay is like expanding it to actually have vendors and more guests. So it's going to be biggest one yet. I'm excited.
Because I remember it as a film festival. Because I remember, I think it was like the very first one. Like Ryan Turek and Shockwave's podcast were out there, and that's when I was trying to go, and it just was too crazy. It was like almost impossible to get out there. So then I kept thinking, oh, I'll wait till I have a film that'll play, and then I'll have more of a reason to go. But
hell yeah,
now I have a different reason to go.
Oh yeah, for sure. You can go there and promote whatever you got going on. It'll be April, so I'm sure there'll be something.
Or maybe I can even get a film in there. If it's in April, I'm sure they haven't ended submissions yet.
I mean, we might be able to do something for you, but we'll see. We'll see.
Salem's a really cool place as well, man. I visited for the first time in April. I was going to say this
last year, yeah.
23 now, isn't it? Last year, yeah. And it's a fucking crazy place. It's really cool. It's a really pretty place, isn't it? Like all the houses and the but then it's just everything around it's just horror, witches and it's great.
That was fun taking you over there, Dean. I can't wait to do it again this year, man.
Yeah,
Drew, I'll do the same thing for you. Come over. I'll give you the best tour in the city.
That would be amazing. I actually get DMs from the unofficial mayor of Salem. I believe is what he I would take me a while to figure out what but yeah, I have a lot of, through my social media, I have like a wide variety of fans. Some are horror fans, some have no idea that I even make horror and they just like my content, and some just like me. So I have a lot of gay fans. There's and a lot of drag queens, and that I get messages from, and I can't remember her name, but a drag queen that said that she was the unofficial mayor of Salem.
Yeah, this one's like that over where I am too. I've like you are. There's so many of them. It's really hard to remember all their names. But there's a really cool movie. I don't know if you've seen it. That was actually filmed really close to me. Death Drop Gorgeous. That's on Shudder. So I know pretty much all the guys that were in there and all the drag queens that were in there. I had a chance to talk to them, meet them in person also, with some of the really cool Video Coven movie showings that Kay was doing for pre-Salem Horror Fest this year. So in October, and even I think through this month, they're doing Video Coven stuff, which is just stuff in the cinema that was either shown at previous Salem Horror Fests that weren't able to be on the big screen. Like during COVID, they did an online only viewing, so she wanted to bring them back to be on the big screen, and invited a lot of the directors and actors and stuff that were in all those films. So to be able to get one of your films on there, awesome.
Oh well, then we need to talk.
Hell yeah, I'll send you some contacts. for sure.
Yeah, please do, because there's, like I said, there's several that are going to be coming out this year too, so that potentially haven't even screened anywhere else yet.
Hell yeah, man. So
or one that has whatever. What I mean, I'm open for anything. So
hell yeah,
and then I would definitely come.
Yeah, for sure. Dean, do you have any other questions you want to throw, or are you like you're good, man?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. I think, do you know, the only other thing I was going to ask, and I have to ask this, because my girlfriend will kill me otherwise, because she's the biggest Killers fan. You was in a Killers video, right?
I was, yes.
Oh man, we were just sort of looking, we always follow what you do and stuff, and I saw a post you put up the other day. So I know this is totally like away from the movies and the horror movies, but she was like, ask him if he knows Brandon Flowers. She's obsessed, absolutely obsessed with her. Bless her heart. She absolutely loves the Killers. So I was like, I'll ask Drew if
That's funny. Well, yeah, no, that was a while ago now, probably like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. But yeah, every Christmas they do a Christmas release that they shoot a music video for, that's for charity. And so that year it was a song called Cowboy Christmas Ball, and they shot it at this this little western town that doesn't actually exist anymore, but it used to exist here. And it was super cool, and they needed some villains to steal Christmas from the killers and the other townsfolk, and so I got to be one of those people. But I was just cast as an actor. Like, I didn't actually know. I mean, they're from here, and we have
they're from Vegas, aren't they?
Yeah, they're from Vegas, and we have a lot of mutual friends, but I had never met any of them. But I've Ronnie, the drummer, we have a lot of mutual friends. He went to high school with a bunch of my friends. So and he ended up, they were all super cool. But there were a bunch of people involved. It was a big music video. So I didn't get a ton of interaction with the band. Like, Ronnie ended up just like hanging out with us. Like, me and the other bandits that stole Christmas. Like, I think he wanted to be one of us instead of a townsfolk. Like, I think he wanted to have a scar on his face and a gun and steal Christmas. So, but Brandon, like, I mean, he came over and introduced himself and was super nice and just like tiny and adorable. And I wanted to like pick him up and hug him. But like, my biggest memory from You Can Let Her Know is just that he is beautiful. And that much like Morticia Addams in the old Addams Family, like, it seemed like he always had this like perfect soft light on him, like no matter where he was, like you would turn and he would just be off in a corner by himself, like where people surrounded by people eating sandwiches in a dark corner, but there would be a perfect light on this, and it's like porcelain doll face. Like, I remember like every time I turn around, like, Jesus Christ, like, he's just still beautiful, like over there leaning against the outhouse, and he somehow still looks
angelic.
Yeah, that was like all I remember from him. But he kept to himself. Like, he always seemed to be not in a rude way at all. But
just shy, I guess.
Because when he would come on set, he was super polite and like met everybody and shook everyone's hands. But when we weren't shooting, he would kind of go off in his corner and you know, do his thing. But that was a great experience. They were all really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Oh yeah, I'll let her know that.
Yeah, let her know.
Drew, this was a blast. Getting to know you a little bit more, and now I can call you a friend.
Yeah,
you're
for sure.
Part of the podcast family. Dean, I have to thank you really for putting Drew on my radar. I mean, I was already following you for a while, but for you really pushing like, yo, we got to get Drew on. We need to get Drew on. I'm like, you know what? You're right. He's got such a great personality, and he's so bright, and your film is brilliant. And I can't wait for the second one and all these other films that you're doing, whether you're making them or you're a part of them, whatever it may be. Just seeing someone be so creative and not really letting anything hold you back is very inspiring. And thank you for that. Seriously.
Oh, thank you for the kind words and for bringing me on.
Yeah, and you're welcome back at any time. We always offer that to any of the guests, whether it's to come on to talk about a movie, like review it with us, or talk about something else that's going to be coming out that you want to highlight. You are forever on this show.
Sweet. And I have to send you a Pool Party Massacre poster to hang on that wall behind you.
Oh, I got plenty
both
of space,
of you, if you want one.
I got plenty. Hell yeah,
right,
man.
Well, I have plenty of posters.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Or I'll bring them to Salem Horror Fest.
Oh, my God, yes. That would be absolutely awesome. Dean, we'll put them at your table.
Oh,
That'd be awesome. But yeah, this was such fun, and I'm looking forward to more chats along the way. Dean, as always, thank you for being here. Drew, thank you for taking your time out of your day to come and chat with us. And we will see everybody next time. Have a good one, everyone.
Goodbye.